Hello, welcome once again to Lehto's Law. I'm Steve Lehto. At the end of the video, some program notes. But first, let me tell you about the woman who's charged with something she said on Facebook, charged as a criminal. And then, of course, you can't do that. So it has a good ending. But here's the deal. She got justice. As reported by the Associated Press and countless other news organizations, several people sent me the story, including Prentice, who I'm mentioning because he's got a cool name, Prentice. So a Georgia woman was criminally charged after complaining about her ex-husband on Facebook, but now she says she's finally gotten justice. Ann King posted in 2015, and here's the quote. I'm going to read to you her entire post verbatim. That moment when everyone in your house has the flu and you ask your kid's dad to get them, not me, more Motrin and Tylenol, and he refuses. Unquote. She removed the post after her ex-husband, Corey King, complained. This is according to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution's report. But he is a Washington County Sheriff's deputy, so he's got some extra pull that you and I wouldn't have. And he felt so disrespected, according to court documents, that he talked a colleague of his, Captain Trey Bergamy, to swear an affidavit out for his ex-wife's arrest. So, just to be clear here, her entire post on Facebook read, that moment when everyone in your house has the flu and you ask your kid's dad to get them, not me, more Motrin and Tylenol, and he refuses. For that, her ex-husband, who is a cop, asked a colleague to swear out an affidavit for her arrest. I mean, I'm only laughing because it is actually very, very funny. But the sad part is, the guy did it. A few days after the post, Ann King found herself in front of a judge facing a charge of criminal defamation. Criminal defamation. First of all, if the guy refused to get the Motrin and the Tylenol, it's a factually correct statement. That's not defamation. I can say anything about you that I want that's true. Okay? So, this is not defamation by any stretch of the imagination. But the problem, of course, is apparently this entire story is involved with incompetent people. I was terrified, Ann King told the newspaper. I couldn't believe I could be going to jail for something I said. A magistrate judge named Ralph Todd told her she had, in fact, defamed her ex-husband's character and ordered her to not contact him for any reason. Which, okay, but remember the original thing was a post on Facebook. It was not a contact that she had with him. She spent 3 hours in jail and then had to post a $1,000 bond to get out. Ed Tolley, who until June was chairman of Georgia's Judicial Qualifications Commission, which investigates ethics complaints against judges and recommends disciplinary action if needed, said the actions against Ann King was a blatant abuse of power. A blatant abuse of power. I was so agitated because I knew it was not a crime, he told the newspaper. The charge of criminal defamation was ruled unconstitutional in 1982. So she was arrested for a crime that doesn't exist anymore. Okay? Now, 1982 is a long time ago. So this law has not been on the books for a very, very long time. You can do the math on that, 1982, but trust me, it's a long time ago. Cynthia Counts, a First Amendment attorney who's one of King's lawyers, said, if people can be arrested for a criticism of an ex-husband on social media, then you have what amounts to a totalitarian state. You also have a situation that would be untenable because I have a Facebook page. I don't mention it here very often because it's turned into something I no longer use for personal purposes because a lot of people ask me, my friend, I have to say yes, so I just say yes, and I just post professional stuff on there. So right now, if you're watching this, send me a friend request, and I'll accept your friend request. Okay, the floodgates are open. But the point is that despite the fact that I've got a couple hundred friends now, I see posts, I would guess, once a week where someone's criticizing a relative who's often an ex-spouse. I've also seen criticisms of children, criticisms of parents, criticisms of cousins, in-laws, and all kinds of things. But criticism of other people on Facebook is right near the top of the things that you see on Facebook, right below photographs of food and funny cat videos slash memes. Okay, so if you can somehow, this would be the perfect thing, and I'm challenging someone right now to do this. Make me a meme of a funny cat slash nice looking meal slash criticism of an ex-spouse. I want to see that meme. Email it to the email at the end of my video, and if we get a couple, maybe I'll put them up somewhere down the road and say, hey, look, we got some good responses to that, because that would be Facebook wrapped around Facebook, surrounded by Facebook, soaked in Facebook, because that's all Facebook is. Okay, Facebook is the photographs of what I had for lunch today. Occasionally you do get the opposite, where you go, oh, this is my husband's the greatest man on earth, my boyfriend's the greatest person on earth. You see those two, okay, but they're counterbalanced by all my ex is such a slime ball, such a, the bad things, okay? So she criticized her ex-husband. And by the way, the criticism was simply, we asked him to go get Motrin and Tylenol and he refused. If that's true, it's not really a criticism, it's a statement of fact. But I've already said that. So the case landed before State Court Judge John Dana. At a hearing, prosecutor Robin Wynn told the court, just because something is legal does not make it right. I'm sorry, I have to go off camera for a second. The prosecutor is admitting that what the person's charged with is not against the law. You can't charge people for doing things that are not right, even though they're legal. Okay? So, I don't even know why we're here, though, Dana said. I don't even know why we're here. So that's the judge responding to the prosecutor. The prosecutor, of course, is somebody here who should be on the hook for an unethical action, because the prosecutor should have immediately looked at this and said, this is not a case. I can't bring this case. Just because a cop swore out a warrant for his buddy doesn't mean I'm going to walk into court and stake my legal license and stand here with a straight face and go, yes, this person should be prosecuted for doing something that I acknowledge is not illegal. You can't charge somebody with doing something that's not right if it's legal. Wynn ultimately agreed to drop the case, but Ann King said she wanted to send a message, so she sued Washington County, the sheriff's office, Bergamy, and her ex-husband. Meanwhile, the Judicial Qualifications Commission began investigating Todd, who then resigned. I couldn't make this stuff up. So, Magistrate Judge Ralph Todd resigned rather than be investigated for what he did. Anytime somebody investigates you, if you've done nothing wrong, you stand up and you fight to clear your name. And I've been investigated once or twice in my life for different things. Someday I'll do videos about them when they're relevant. But let's just say that if somebody comes and accuses me of something, I stand up and I say, let's discuss it. We'll talk about it. Let me explain myself and show you why the person who's saying that is wrong. And I will do that. Okay? And by the way, if you catch me and I've done something wrong, I've made a mistake, I'll admit it. But the point is that on something this large, So when the guy resigns his judicial magistrate position, or whatever the heck it's called, magistrate judge Ralph Todd, when he resigns his position rather than answer the question, why did you do this? There's all kinds of things rotten in Denmark. And of course, I'm saying that figuratively because there's nothing actually rotten in Denmark in this story. I think it's a Shakespeare reference. Last week, Ann King received a $100,000 settlement and an apology. She told the Journal-Constitution of Atlanta, there were plenty of times I thought to myself, I should just end this, but I wasn't going to back down and let them win. And I applaud you. The apology, which she posted on Facebook, but was given to her, we apologize for the pain caused and time wasted, including Ms. King being charged and arrested with respect to what was really a personal dispute that should have ended without the involvement of the courts. So Ann King is my hero, and her ex-husband, who wouldn't go get the Motrin and the Tylenol, I don't really have a word for him, but I think you know what it is. I think you can come up with your own word. Maybe you can come up with your own meme. But my point is simply this. She posted a factual statement griping about her ex-husband. And because he's a cop, he got her arrested. And because there's an incompetent magistrate judge in Georgia, apparently there's one, she spent time in jail and had to post bond. And then a prosecutor went into court with a straight face and said, just because something is legal does not make it right. Robert Wynn, prosecutor. You know what's interesting? I've made fun of a lot of people on my podcasts, and yet none of them have ever contacted me. It's the weirdest thing. Robert Wynn. How do you walk into court with a straight face and say, just because something is legal does not make it right. Therefore, we want to prosecute a woman on a law that doesn't exist. But we're going to say she broke this law that doesn't exist. By the way, if you convict somebody of a law that doesn't exist, what do? Sentence them to a sentence that doesn't exist? Fine them with imaginary money? Like, seriously. If I was the judge and a prosecutor stood there and said, Your Honor, this woman's charged with a crime. And the defense says, Your Honor, this isn't a crime. So I look at the prosecutor and go, what say you? Well, it doesn't make it right, though. It's not a crime, but it doesn't make it right. I'd say, okay, hypothetically speaking, if we proceeded, what would happen? Are you going to tell the jury that we're prosecuting this woman for an imaginary crime? Is she entitled to a jury for an imaginary crime prosecution? What do you think is going to happen here? And at that point, you'd have to admit and say, no, Your Honor, we're running her through the ringer as a favor to our friends, the cops. Because the prosecutors are often friends with the cops, the way the cops are often friends with the magistrates, the way the cops are often friends with each other. That's how this one cop gets his buddy to swear out the complaint, and then how they get a magistrate judge to have the woman thrown in jail and force her to post bond, and then get a prosecutor to say, well, there's no law, but it doesn't make it right. Apparently, in some places in Georgia, you can be prosecuted, despite there being no crime broken, if you did something that wasn't right, according to your ex-husband who's a cop. So there you go, my friends. But the woman did finally get justice. She got $100,000 and an apology, and well-deserved. So she's my hero. Everyone else in the story, a bunch of goats. Program notes, my friends. Two things. First of all, if it matters to you, my audio podcasts are now available on Spotify. Somebody sent me a note and said, Steve, I know you're on iTunes. Are you on Spotify? And I said, well, I've heard of Spotify. I used Spotify briefly for a while, but I'm not on Spotify now. But does Spotify actually carry podcasts? And they said, yes, they do. They just started. You should probably look into that because Spotify's got a huge platform, to which I looked into, and it turns out they do. So they do now carry podcasts, including Lehto's Law. So if you are a frequenter of my podcasts, whether on iTunes, Podbean, Google Play, Stitcher, SoundCloud, any of the other places where my podcast could be, my podcast's everywhere now, especially including Spotify, which I know a lot of people do use. So that's cool. Second program note, I moved the live YouTube feed last week from Sunday to Saturday to accommodate my marathon schedule. We're going back to my typical Sunday schedule this upcoming weekend. So on Sunday, October 27th, if you are around, or if you will be around, 1 o'clock Eastern time, I'm going to do a live podcast in addition to the videos I put up. But it's an opportunity for an hour, hour and a half where you can log in and we just fire questions back and forth. We have a free-ranging discussion involving 400 or 500 of our closest friends, and it can turn into a bit of a melee, but it can also be a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. It reminds me of the days when I used to do call-in talk radio without a screener, which is crazier than you think. Someday I'd like to actually do a call-in show where I can take phone calls, but that's another thing altogether. The technology's not quite there yet. So once again, this upcoming Sunday, October 27th, 1 o'clock Eastern time. I forgot what the UTC on that is, but generally speaking, we are 5 hours right now ahead of London. So at 1 o'clock Eastern time, it is, I believe, 6 o'clock in England, 7 o'clock in Paris, and you can do the math the rest of the way around the globe. So there you go, 1 o'clock, October 27th, which is a Sunday. I will be doing a live YouTube feed. Questions or comments, put them below. Otherwise, talk to you later. Bye-bye.